Well, good evening and welcome back to MysticHour, live podcast about all things mystical and nerdy right here on Proficiency Bonus. I'm your host, Kristy Mysticwater, and each week we talk to all sorts of random and awesome people about all the geeky fandoms, hobbies, and cultures that we all love. We took a break. Welcome back. Happy New Year. I hope you all had a great Christmas and a great holiday. We took a bit of an extended vacation, everybody did, so we are all refreshed and ready to get back into the new year. Tonight we are finally going to be meeting some new faces and some old ones as well for the new stream of Curse of Strahd. So I'm going to take you guys over. There they are. Say hi.
Hi.
Hi, everybody.
So tonight I am joined by Ink, Sarah, Jim, and Chris. Thank you for joining me. How about your guys' New Year's?
Not bad.
Not bad?
I went to a wedding.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Good. Nice and restful.
We all got our Secret Santa, got some presents.
Yeah, they were fabulous.
Yeah, they were great.
A delightfully smelling candle.
Yeah.
I still haven't received mine yet, but that's probably not surprising.
Well, you're kind of far away.
Yeah.
Just a little.
Before I jump in and get you guys to introduce yourselves, I'm going to do just a quick shout out to dicebar.com. If you enter the coupon code PROBO, P-R-O-B-O, at the end of your checkout, you get free expedited shipping to anywhere in the world, and that's dicebar.com. They are a new, now older sponsor with us. They're a Vancouver-based dice company. They sell all sorts of types of dice sets and D&D merchandise. So go check them out and enter that coupon code, which I will put in the chat in a minute. Before we get into things, I'm gonna those type of days. I'm gonna get you guys Ink. I need you to stop typing like that.
Oh.
Thank you. You were doing this to me yesterday.
I can't tell how loud it is.
You are a monster. But I'm going to get you to introduce yourself first, even though we already know who you are, but just in case anyone listening at home doesn't know, or any new viewers. Just going to go around, starting with you, who you are, where you're from, and who you play in Curse of Strahd.
Well, let's see it. Gosh, I'm a guy with a loud keyboard. My name is Ink. I'm an illustrator and writer. If you do know me, it's probably because I try to be on every single one-shot ever. And also because I'm on Hell or High Waterdeep with you, Kristy.
Oh, you don't say!
Where I play Opal.
No.
But gosh, on Curse of Strahd, I play the very, very incredibly super charming dwarf warlock Varian, who is also incredibly French.
Nice.
Wow.
All right, what about you, Jim?
Well, hi, everybody. My name is Jim. I am a writer working on my first couple of novels, and I play Rail Ironfur, a Tabaxi monk on Curse of Strahd.
Nice. And then the last player we have at the table would be Chris. Introduce yourself for us.
Hi, my name is Chris. All right, next. No, I live in northern New York, not too far from Lake Erie. I can't really talk about what I do in my life because it's kind of in like a huge state of flux right now.
Fair.
But I have a background in like mathematics and theater, and I've done odd jobs and stuff like that. A lot of my existence.
And who do you play?
And I am playing a Dragonborn bard, a white Dragonborn bard, who goes by the name Golly John.
Golly John.
He is a sailor.
Yeah.
Thankfully, it's not actually a sailing campaign, since I don't know anything about sailing, and I don't have to.
He's like, Ford's like, what's a boat?
Raise the port.
If there was water in Barovia, I would have to do a lot more research.
Yes, that's true. You guys are kind of stuck where you are. And we have today with us Sarah, the lovely DM of the Curse of Strahd campaign. Introduce yourself, BB.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I play a lot of D&D. I'm from South Jersey, and I play Strahd, the vampire. I am the DM, so I play everyone that's on Peace People next week. But I wanted to say that there is a water-based D&D.
Right, yes!
Yeah.
So, I might throw stuff in there and just make it like a new moat and you have to go around it or something.
Oh no, Castle Ravenloft with a moat with like vampire crocodiles.
Yeah.
That sounds fun.
Hold on, I'm gonna write that down. Vampire crocodiles.
So Illyria's gonna take fly.
Vampire crocodiles.
So good. Well,
Not even kidding.
a couple of you have been on my show before. But I'm going to start with probably Chris. I'm going to ask you, how long have you played D&D? And how did you get into it?
Since 2013, when I went to community college, I wanted to play D&D. Me and my friend tried to get a group together. It never quite happened. Later, when I was finishing my bachelor's degree, I basically had to take one class for an entire semester. All I took was one class because I failed it, and it was what I needed to graduate. So I ended up with a lot of free time on my hands when I was on campus, and I joined 3 different D&D games. A 4th edition game, I love this story, a 2nd edition game, and a 3rd edition game. So I got to do this delightful little crash course with 3 different mechanics of D&D and 3 different DMs who had very different styles. And it was really fun. It was cool. I came to appreciate the different systems for at least what they were being used for, if not what they're good for. And I got to be a gnome and a druid, I got to be 2 gnomes. I got to be a gnome barbarian, a gnome wizard, and a druid. Well, hybrid shaman warden for 4E.
Okay, so you were on the 4E system.
Yeah, the hybrid shaman warden. So that's the first D&D character I built for a game I actually played.
Right.
And it was a campaign that had been running for 4 years, but they needed someone to jump in to finish off the semester.
No pressure.
They were all graduated. Yeah. So it was a level 27 4E campaign. And
you've never played before? You just here's
the hybrid character rules. It took an entire week to make the character.
Oh no.
But it was so fun. And I actually kind of learned that making characters is the funnest part of 4E, because in high levels it's really a slugfest. But it's still really cool. I don't dislike 4E. I just better at low levels probably. In fact, it took so long to make that character. I think we actually played the 2nd edition game, even though we started making characters 2nd before I was able to jump in. Technically, I think 2nd edition is the first version I've played.
Okay. That's cool. What about you, Jim? How long have you been playing, and when and how did you start?
Let's see. I've been playing for maybe a little over a year, all told. D&D was something that had always been kind of mentioned to me by lots of people. They said, "Oh, Jim, you love stories, you love creating. You should get into D&D." And I just never had the time or the inclination to get into it. And we've been living in China for about 4-ish years at that point, and I found that, oh, hey, there's lots of fun D&D podcasts, so I can kind of learn how to play the game by listening to people play it really, really well. And was able to find lots of free information online, and hey, there's a website where you can play online and you can just use a voice chat. And so that's how I started playing, as was on Roll20, and wrote and DM'd a few one-shots for my wife and friends.
Aww. What was your first exposure to it, you would say? Because you were mentioning the D&D podcast, which one stood out to you?
I guess my first exposure would be as a child, learning that Dungeons and Dragons is full of devil worship.
Yep, I think we all kind of have dipped our toes on that front. Yep.
Yeah, because I grew up in I was a kid in the early '90s, and there was kind of like that after ripple effect of people being afraid in the '80s because they just didn't understand what it was, and so I guess my first real exposure was probably the Adventure Zone.
Okay. Math and nerds are frightening. Put them together, and man, we are devil worshipping.
Gonna get that 666 going.
Yeah.
That's them numbers, that math.
Well, I think things got conflated because there were some games that like Vampire the Masquerade that were very popular in the late 80s, early 90s, and if you are looking at it from the perspective of I don't know what any of this is, and so that means that I have to judge all of them by the one thing that I see.
Right.
In Vampire the Masquerade can sometimes get a little bit creepy. No offense to any.
No, I mean there's definitely different
there.
genres of the D&D build system for sure.
Right. And
Curse
so
of
if
Strahd
that's
is a perfect
your
example
first
of that.
exposure to any kind of role playing game, and you think, well, I don't want my kids mixed up in that, and so like that's kind of the attitude that my parents took of is it just stick to books, like you don't need to get mixed up in all that.
Because books aren't scary at all.
No.
Nah. Books aren't subversive.
Because they just see like the surface like Cthulhu and like the vampires and werewolves.
Yeah.
Like you're playing with the 666. Like it's completely stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until like I get to be an adult making my own decisions.
Right.
with
No,
my
when
own
you're
set
a
of
child, you're very
discernment.
impressionable. Like you take your parents' word as like law and godhood. They can't lie to me. They can't be wrong. They know everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, thankfully, I was lucky. Like my uncle exposed me very young to D&D, just because I think he wanted to play.
Oh.
And he had no one to play with, so he got me and his son to play.
Hey, I've got no one to play with. Hey,
kids!
you 7-year-old.
Yeah.
You
I was like maybe 10. 10 was probably
Aw.
like the youngest.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That is cool.
My nephew's into it.
I love when kids are into it. It's so cute.
It's cool now.
Alright, so that's me.
Ish.
Well, based off that, this is kind of a question for everybody. What was your first impression of like D&D before you got into it, and then D&D after you stepped into it? Because like we were based off like, hey, like the conception is the devil worshipping 666. That's the outside. But once you stepped into it, did you have a different, like, how did the perception change? And what was your first impression when you walked in?
I thought that it was extremely nerdy when I played high school. Like in high school they would play it, and I'm like, well, that's my line. If I ever start playing D&D, I'll be a true nerd. And then I started playing, I'm like, well, it's okay. Now I'm in like 7 games and it's fine. Whatever.
Just give up. It's okay. Just relinquish
it's okay.
yourself to it.
Yeah, embrace it. Like
Yeah.
the whole thing, yeah. So.
Yeah, I could see that.
Then again, I played World of Warcraft for years, so I don't.
The bar.
Time, yeah. I played World of Warcraft, but yeah.
There's the bar.
It was a little too much. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I basically had to make like the only leap for me was from like RPG video games and like strategy games to Dungeons and Dragons, and I, being little baby, didn't really grow up in the devil worshipping part of the culture. It was just kind of like in its like dormant stages, where it was kind of like if you knew about it, you knew about it, but if you didn't, you really didn't.
Yeah.
And I remember this guy trying to get me to play one time, and now I can't remember if it was either an earlier edition, it was either like 3.5 or it was actually Pathfinder. I want to say it was actually Pathfinder because I remember just being like, this is so like, it's too mechanical,
Overwhelming.
and I didn't like it at all, and I also didn't like that person. So that
I find it very interesting that a lot of people I talk to actually, like, their first initial experience with D&D or D&D like platforms is they didn't like it, but they still came back.
Yeah.
Well,
I
yeah.
played Pathfinder 2 with an ex-boyfriend of mine, and he got me into it, and I'm like, wow, this is really. And we did Pathfinder Society, so it was really drug out.
it's
everything
such
we
a
did.
slog.
Yeah,
And
but then I came back for 5e, and it was so much
Completely
more
different, yeah.
Yeah, so like I was sworn off for a while because like I like RPGs and strategy games, but like I have a really hard time getting into something like Civ. You know,
Yeah,
so
me too.
anything where it becomes too micromanaging of mechanics. Ooh, there's a little
Yeah.
I just kind of didn't like it. But then through podcasts and watching videos, I was like, okay, wait, 5th edition, everyone's saying it's more about story and writing and being kind of a little bit more loosey-goosey with rules. So then I read all the books, and then I actually stepped in and because my friends then were like, we've been talking about D&D for a long time, let's try it. And we were trying it, and like the current DM wasn't working. I was like, let me try something. And then I became the regular DM. And it was like, that's what I then
'cause I definitely
did for
find
like
that
the whole year.
consistency is definitely key in terms of enjoyment. Because, like, it definitely breaks down if you're only meeting, like, a Critical Role is the outlier, but, like, when you're only meeting once a month, and then you only do, like, the 2 days, like, we spent 12 hours, maybe once or twice a month, just playing. But then because the span in between each session got longer and longer, that it was just easier to just not play anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Well, based off that, off your initial thoughts of D&D in general and D&D like platforms, what was your first thought of the first session of Curse of Strahd? Anybody, even Sarah can answer herself.
I was terrified, and I talked too much, but I was terrified. I was so scared.
You did well, BB.
I was like shaking.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. I've been there.
It was my first Monster House.
Yeah, Death House, yeah.
Death House.
Dungeon crawl.
Yeah. So that took like 3 episodes to get through Death House for you guys.
I intentionally did not read up on Curse of Strahd campaign.
Right.
The only thing I knew was that I knew we were going to get transported to Barovia in a thing of mist, because that was like the first piece of information I found when I was trying to figure out what is this campaign to begin with. Am I interested in it? I was really excited that we got a dog.
We do have a dog. It's gonna live.
Well, maybe. Hopefully. There's 2
Just
things
don't
I
pull
think
it,
stood out.
Alex, please. Don't brave frost cone of cold it, whatever the hell happened. Oh.
Or did someone...
Our DM on Insight Check killed our new puppy with a cone of cold. And, he had a collar that protected him for targeted attacks, but not AoE attacks, and it was an AoE,
no.
and he was gone, and we're like, our dog!
Well,
So
Sarah
just be
tried to
careful,
get
keep
us
him safe.
To kill our dog.
I did. I gave them the dog because they had the whole big thing about Death House is spoilers. You have the option to sacrifice someone in the basement or kill this giant thing.
Oh.
So I gave them an out with the dog, but no one to kill the dog except for maybe the cat. So
No, there was like 2 or 3 people in the party that were strongly considering it.
Yeah.
And Stefan was like, I wasn't even thinking about it. We were all like, well, we all thought about it, and Stefan was like, that wasn't even on the table for me.
Stefan definitely didn't think about it at all. You're right.
Dave's character rocks because just so pure of heart.
Yes, very pure heart. You're right.
Yeah, it was because it's such a large group, and I think and because the first episode Dave wasn't there,
Right,
and we
yeah,
would always
that
have
was
one
definitely...
person missing. So no, I felt like people wanted to roleplay, but they didn't want to roleplay too much because everyone wasn't there.
Right.
But now I
That
feel
makes
like
sense.
everyone's kind of I'm seeing the character relationships start to happen now that we're traveling.
As a group.
People are starting to kind of connect with certain characters, which I think is fun. In the beginning, it was rocky because we were there to be leveled up. So,
Basically, that's the purpose.
There's not a lot of
sure.
there's not a lot of talking to be done.
And we didn't have... We established a little bit of relationship between our characters in that we've been traveling together, but not in a personal way.
Right.
Right.
So everyone was just kind of reacting to the situation at hand, and there wasn't a lot of empty space to fill with what is your character just like as a person?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're like thrown into the midst of, and that's usually how bonds are formed anyway. At least with Storm King's Thunder, like we got thrown real quickly into a mess that we didn't want to be involved in. We were on a basic mission. We didn't know each other. We weren't gonna know each other. And then when the big thing happens, it kind of forces you to interact with each other after that big thing happens.
Yeah, because like I know that like Varian normally would not want to be around any, like he's that guy. He's that guy in the party. He's like, I don't want to be around like any, because it's like we have a drow in the party, and Varian has like things with Duragar.
I love my drows.
You know, so he's like, but because Barovia is just so fucked up. TM trademark.
Spoilers.
He's like I can't lone wolf. You know.
Yeah. No.
It's the lone wolf finding a reason to stay, which is if I actually lone wolf this, I will die a horrible death. So I gotta stick with these people, which is fine.
Speaking of wolves, the other thing that stuck out, I don't know if this is part of the campaign normally or if you add this in, just the fact that the wolves all show up, we're suddenly thrust into an encounter where like, holy crap, we could die like right away.
Right now.
And then they disappear without the main one ever attacking us. I like the fact that it's made very clear to the characters in this story that the powers that be around here could snuff them out if they wanted to.
Letting us live.
And that's a nice bit of tension to like have hanging constantly over the players.
That's interesting.
I've been hit 2 times in our like 4 episodes. I don't know. 6 episodes. Yeah, I was right. I've been hit 2 times, and both times I've been brought down to like 1 more hit and I'm dead HP. And I have +3 Constitution.
You're made of glass.
Everyone's made of glass right now.
This is why I stand 100 feet away from every fight and shoot with a crossbow.
Sometimes you have to do that.
Let's kind of go off that in terms of like your characters. Feel free, anybody, including Sarah, you can answer this too, even outside of Strahd. Like, this doesn't have to be Strahd specific. Where do you draw your inspiration from your characters?
Ooh, I made the one big mistake of, on Wednesdays I play in real life, and I made the mistake of drawing it from my real life. And it totally fucks me up because
Don't do that.
Tuala from Monday Nights, who just left, he DMs Wednesday nights, which is confusing in real life for me, and he throws in some stuff, and I literally cried at that table. Just
right, I remember
hysterically
that day when you came in and told me about it.
That he threw in there that he didn't mean to make me cry, but I was sobbing hysterically just because like real life happened, and I was just like, why did you do this? Oh my god. So yeah, that kind of stuff. So never draw from real life.
I agree with that. I will second that sentiment 110% because that was me with Kai, who I've mentioned many times on Mystic Hour. Everyone knows who the Kai is. I because she was such a like self-loathing character, I'm like, she is not healthy to play right now. Right. So let's get rid of her. Yeah, I feel that. I totally feel that. But outside of real life, do you draw from like anyone can answer this? Do you draw from like other characters, other movies, like fiction, or just you have an idea in your head? Ink will get to you. Sit down.
All I did is...
Because I know what you're thinking!
The first few characters I made, I started with the mechanics, and then tried to come up with character reasons for them to have these skills or these attributes. That's mostly changed, though. I think now it's... I think I do draw a little bit from my own personality. I'm trying to find ideas for characters that aren't necessarily about my life.
Well, personality is a bit different than real life, I think.
But that I can slip into comfortably.
Right.
Is what I'm looking for. So I try to think of some aspect of myself and like, okay, how do you come up with a character who is also kind of like this, but in D&D world? And it's a little tough with bards because
You sing constantly.
what?
You sing constantly. That's the problem.
That's a stereotype, man.
I hum a lot, but I'm not really a singer entertainer. Well, I can be an entertainer, but it takes work.
You're like a
I
you're like
thought that
you're
your
like a punny
your
bard.
bard style was like stand up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You had some pretty cold vicious mockeries so far.
You've had some good puns too. A lot of good puns.
Always
Thank
need a
you.
good
I
punch.
enjoyed
Yep.
It's fun.
Sorry, go ahead, Chris.
No, I think I'm good.
Okay. I think for me, creating characters has always been very interesting because as a writer, I'm constantly creating characters, for my novels, and something I've had to kind of come to grips with is that not all my characters are me. They will have some elements of me, but they will not always choose to do things in the way that I do them. But and so for me, I kind of start with like ideas or tropes that I'm really fond of.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite characters is probably the first character I ever made and played with was a swashbuckler. I found a homebrew class online called Swashbuckler, and his name was Avery Corinth, and Avery was just constantly like at odds with everybody, and until that the rest of my party decided that he's kind of an a-hole, but he's RA.
That runs in a very
Yeah.
He's kind of an asshole, but he's our asshole. Yeah.
I mean, even
That's
A lovable
why
asshole, it's
Raylan
okay.
married and clicked. But for me, for creating Rail, I was just kind of scrolling through Pinterest one day, and so I was like, oh, they have whole pages of like art for inspiration for D&D characters, and I saw some of these cat folk, and I was just like, oh wow, I could do that. I don't know anything really about cats. I'm a dog person, but maybe I could play a cat folk. And then I was like, oh, I live in China, the land of kung fu, and so I thought, hey, what if I had a cat folk, kung fu master? And so that's kind of the beginnings of how Rail came to be.
That's awesome.
I see a lot of similarities between you and Ink, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I make weirdos. I forget.
But you're also a writer, and you draw from your own
Writer.
characters, for sure.
All of them always. They all have a. They're all part of an internal conversation about one aspect of me. So Varian is to deal with an aspect of me. Opal is to deal with an aspect of me.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it is. You'll have to see what Varian
Is it cathartic?
It is cathartic for me. So, I mean, it's not too spoilery because no one really seems to. No one seems to ask. No one seems to really know what to do with Varian right now because a lot of people are asking about his job, and it's funny because his job is really, really relevant, but he really, really doesn't care about his job. Varian's focus is family. His family.
Yeah.
But no one's asked him about his family, so he hasn't talked.
Right.
Opal is very much about the self and spirituality. Varian is my answer to a character that's about family. I was very tired of characters who are orphans or soul survivors. My village got attacked. Varian has a complete, full, happy family out there. He's just a little bit of a black sheep, but they don't hate him. And a lot of what he does is about family. But I remember just like we were talking with our Kristy and I were talking with our friend Danica the other day. We love her, and she was like, she called me the Taliesin of our group in terms of how I make characters, because I make someone that's weird. I make someone that doesn't quite work on purpose. So like I remember I wanted to make a dwarf because I've only, whenever someone's like, what's your favorite race and class, you know, it's like it's Tiefling Bard, but I only ever made one. And then I purposefully never played, and I keep on picking things I purposefully don't like because I'm like, how do I make it something I like? I hate dwarves. I absolutely hate dwarves. Sorry for everyone that likes dwarves. So I was like, I'm gonna play a dwarf, but I hate dwarves. How do I make it something I like? And so his concept started as,
tell us how you feel about dwarves.
I hate dwarves, but I'm gonna
can we unpack this little?
Do you want to know why I hate dwarves? It's really easy.
Yeah.
It's because in fantasy, I feel like dwarves get really shafted and shoeboxed, and they don't get as much wildly different interpretations as other races do. Dwarves are like, they like to drink, they have big axes, they like blacksmithing, they like stonework, and they're very, very traditional and normally not trusting of other races. Most things that have dwarves in them are like that. Now, Varian also isn't really trustful of other people, but Varian as a concept started was how do I make a dwarf that's not a dwarf? So it's like he doesn't do the big Warhammer War Axe thing. He uses a crossbow. He fights from far away. He likes drinking, but he's not all about mead and ale. He's kind of like, he's a wine mom.
French wine.
Even down to his voice, he's not like this.
You're a posh dwarf.
He's not like this Irish, Scottish kind of guy. He doesn't have the big braid. He's got like just like the little fancy mustache, and he has a French accent, and he's very kind of prim. He's more prim and proper, even though he has a cloak made out of skin. So like all of his aspects. Well, he's trying to get into Barovian.
Why don't you just not
style?
Cloak of skin?
But like the thing is, he really sees it as like an intimidation thing. Like if you see someone wearing like a cloak made out of skin, do you really want to like talk to that person?
Yeah, fair enough.
And that's what he doesn't want you to talk to him.
Go away! I'm wearing your skin.
House Bolton.
I am interested though in, like, that's how you guys have created your characters and how you see your characters. So aside from your own, I want to ask, what's one other character in the story you're most looking forward to seeing more development from, and why?
Amara. Oh, Amara so much.
Just saying. I think Rail's development has been visible because your character is very open about the fact that, I was a monster my whole life. I don't know stuff about worlds.
Teach me to fight.
I don't think good.
A lot of my characters are right now still kind of internal. He's like vocal, but he's not like opening up to people.
No. He talks a lot about a bunch of bullshit.
Golly John is kind of in the same boat, where I feel like
Literally, because he's a sailor.
Well, yeah, he's out of his boat, his element, and he's trying to present himself as competent and deal with situations, but really he's clueless in terms of how to handle all of this.
I'm interested in seeing. Yeah, because that's what I was about to say. Is that I feel like Golly is like fast becoming the leader.
The leader. I was just about to say that. Varian feels like Golly John's the leader of the group.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is,
like, we're like 2 sessions away from Golly like pointing at a problem and saying, "Rail, punch it," and Rail just going for it.
I don't want to talk too much about how Golly feels about that. No.
It's okay.
Because I try not to cement the character in my mind in stone until it's been role played out, until it exists for the other players, so that I can change things at the last minute to better fit what's going on. I try to keep the character a little bit fluid. Sarah, I've asked you if I can change a little something in his backstory.
Yep.
Because I'm trying to make sure that the character that I bring forward, I get to use the bits of him that I'm trying to create for the story. This is super tangential. Is it okay if I go on a brief tangent?
Go for it.
Go
Cool.
for it.
So I've been in situations where like I've created a character who was everything that they were was on the table. They're almost a joke character, and they're very fun. But you don't necessarily get to tell a super memorable story with them. And I've also been on the table where I've got a really complicated idea about what this character is and what their motivations are and who they're going to become and like how they'll respond to things. And then the campaign just kind of peters out before you ever really get to have a single meaningful interaction with anyone.
That's true.
I'm trying to strike a balance between that, and I don't know how developed everyone else's characters' ideas are. I'm really interested in our.
I can tell you.
I get the feeling that Ink, you have a really
I
strong
write
idea.
too much
Yeah.
all the time. I write way too much all the time.
And Jim, you said you are a writer, so I assume that's true for you.
Yeah, I had
There's
a
a
lot
lot
of
under rail, I can
I had a
see.
lot of ideas.
We have a lot of stuff in the player bio, so I'm not gonna lie. Everyone
Oh, do
of
we?
you
Okay.
has very laid out player bios.
Everyone
I've-
feels really deep.
Yeah.
I'm
Well, I
really-
had a lot of stuff. However, I'm going to have to rethink a few things because we are trapped in this pocket dimension. Because some of the things,
That how it is.
some of the ideas that I had were because I didn't read at all about Curse of Strahd. Some of the ideas that I had are like hinged on the idea that we would interact with people from our past potentially.
You don't
Magic
Oh,
is
it's
weird.
true.
You don't know.
know. Strahd is weird.
Aliens.
Is weird.
Because, like,
aliens.
Kristy asked like what characters are you like for me. I mean, like obviously you two, because I feel like you're like Golly Joe and Rail are the like two that Varian keeps on having moments with. But to like expand it past, I'm really interested in Amara, because Amara's really squeaking by with not even talking a lot.
That's true.
But I know Para in real life, her player, and I've known Para for like 8 years of my real life. So I'm like, this is, we haven't really gotten to sit, because we're always in life-threatening situations. We haven't really gotten to sit down and be like, there's a drow paladin walking around with us. What does that mean? Because Varian got to have a talk with her in the church, and I really, really liked that talk because, like I said, he has a past relation. He's a mountain dwarf. Almost all mountain dwarfs know about Duragar and the Underdark,
right,
and
yeah.
so it's kind of like she's just here, and she has.
Is no one else concerned?
Amara, because you see these little, she's not like emotionless, she has humor, and they're like, just in last episode, I think, Rail, did you try to talk, was it you that tried to talk to
Golly
Amara?
did.
No, Golly John tried to talk to Amara, and I was like, God, she's really just kind of putting up that wall. So I'm like so interested in having it break down, because I haven't really seen Amara afraid yet. And then the other character is Stefan, because Stefan is the gorgeous, happy-go-lucky, nice, good person in a group of not super nice people, but more so is the really nice, pure of heart person in a land that's just not.
Gonna eat them alive.
There's just
Right.
not nice. Barovia just doesn't have nice people in it.
No.
So I want to see if Dave like sticks his heels in the dirt and says, no, Stefan is a good person. Because like he started out as like good, he was like good, kind of stupid, and then he's almost died like 3 times, and he's becoming less, and he's becoming less stupid. He's like, I won't, because every single time he's like, I won't do that again. And he hasn't. And
He just
hasn't
needs to
done
make
it
the
yet.
mistake once to learn, and then he'll never do it again.
Meanwhile, the cat said, "I'll stop
Real.
touching doors," and he hasn't learned that yet. But so I'm just like, is Stefan going to get to the end of this and like not have broken as a moral person?
That's true.
I think he's gonna do it. I think he's gonna get out of this as a good boy.
I think if I had to pick two characters to survive this,
I was
maybe
actually going to
Strahd.
ask, like, who was most likely to die, who's most likely to survive.
Oh, also, I forgot to answer your question.
Oh, yes,
Kristy,
please do.
Which was our very quiet wizard. I'm very curious as to her character tick. Golly's interested in her because he thinks magic is really cool. He doesn't really understand it. He has it, but it's a very instinctual kind of power. And her character setup seems like she could play the haughty, snooty elf, and she isn't really going that route. And I get the impression that she has some relevant stuff in her backstory in terms of like things she's experienced that I'm curious to learn about. I'm not entirely sure what she's got packed in. Anyways, if I had to pick who survives, it'd probably be Stefan. Those are the two of like if one of those dies, we'd be like,
Oh, you're cutting out who, Stefan and who?
Winston.
Oh, okay.
Dog.
Same Winston.
I had a golden retriever named Winston, so
No.
he better survive. Yeah. That's the inspiration for that.
I thought there was a good chance that Golly was going to die, just because his personality is not quite in line with his class. He's slowly building towards being able to front of the party a little bit more than a bard should, but he definitely wasn't there at level 1. Rail, I assume, is not done sticking his paws in our tongue places that might be dangerous, even if not doors.
So darn curious.
Curiosity killed the cat.
What? Yeah, God. Like, you have a literal saying about you.
I think
that's something that I made about him, is that I wanted him to be just a pure naive character. Is that there's not a lot of guile in Rail, but he just can't help but be curious because everything's new to him. He's on this like monk Rumspringa, and so literally everything is a new experience for him. Including probably dying. Yeah, I think
I should hope it's
He's
a new
done it
experience.
before.
I've done that before.
I'm really happy to be playing him. If I stay true, if I stay on brand, he may come up against a consequence that he won't come out of, and I have to be okay with that.
Right.
I have to kill my darlings.
It's gonna be tough. I have this weird feeling that at some point, Sarah is going to back attack the party, and Varian will be hiding in the back and just get like mobbed by something that's stuck up on us, and it'll totally backfire.
Now that we've leveled up, I accounted for that. Actually, now that I have crossbow expert, first off, my crossbow attacks will not be a disadvantage in melee, and I took the spell Shadow Blade, so that if he gets caught unawares, he can bust out a really good melee weapon and kick some ass.
Be careful, Sarah's taking notes.
Vampire crocodiles. Gotcha.
I'm more concerned for Varian Varian has very low AC. He has like 11, 12 AC because he just doesn't wear armor. But I'm more concerned about the wizard always.
Yeah, true.
So,
yeah, always the wizard.
We need to have an in-character conversation, be like an official marching order. Put those squishy casters in the middle and have Golly John or Rail on one side and then Amara on the other, and sandwich those squishy people. Because it's basically just me and Illyri. The rest of you can take a hit So you just put like Dolly John Rail on one side, and then you put Stefan and Amara on the other side, and you squish us in the middle. We're fine.
Yeah. I can take a licking and keep on ticking.
Ayo.
I have a lot of. I have low AC, but I have like 48 HP. Like
That's nice.
I'm a beefy boy.
You're a beefy boy.
I'm
You're not that squishy.
I'm easy to hit, which is why I stand
Right.
100 feet away. I'm easy to hit.
For now.
But like things.
For now.
Well, I mean, I got mirror image,
That's
but I only have
Mirror
2
image.
spell slots.
I
2 spell slots.
I was actually as a player, when the cloak of protection got handed out, I was like, oh my god, my character, he's gonna need that in the long run. But then I'm just like, he wouldn't want it. So
Oh
the
yeah,
monk-
see, I
the
know
monk
that struggle. When your character's like
Yeah.
not at all interested in gold, you're like, just take it. I don't want it, but I
But
really
it's
want
the
it.
only way that the monk can boost his AC
I
because he
know.
can't wear
Yeah, thanks for
armor.
that.
I know.
So it's like we gotta give it to him.
Yeah.
I just
And-
made the excuse. It
And
wouldn't
Rail
fit me.
doesn't give a crap about gold.
Oh well,
That's me
Every
with
single
Callista.
partner.
Yeah.
I
Callista's very selective on the type, like how she gets the gold. If it's stolen or whatever from like nobles, she's like, yeah, I'll take it because the nobles don't deserve it. But if the nobles are like trying to pay her for a job, she's like, I don't want your fucking money.
Nope.
Like, back the
Yeah.
fuck up.
See, Varian's weird because one of the first things that he did was steal some expensive jewelry and
Really
stuff and didn't tell
expensive.
anybody. But the thing is, when like they were
Nobody
like
knows
come
he did it.
when they were like come clean about it, he didn't even try to lie. He was like, yeah, I stole jewelry, and he was like, I just want this one actually, because the thing is, he like only wants gold to an extent of like once I buy the like 2 things I want, I really don't care, and you can have everything else. He
Yeah.
just wants armor and a hand crossbow.
Mostly armor.
That's it.
You'll have to explain
Mostly
that,
the hand
'cause that's
crossbow,
a
actually.
720 gold piece necklace you want. It's like
750. Yeah, I'm just
Yeah,
wearing it.
Shit.
That was
I'm
one of
weird,
the
you know,
first things we found.
yeah.
if we're
I
gonna
wanna
have
ask-
to sell anything.
I want to ask,
I don't
what was
think
the
so.
most exciting thing that each of you have seen since you've started playing in game?
Ooh.
Even DM. I want to know DM's choice too.
Ooh.
As in the most exciting thing the character has sort of experienced, or that we've seen happen with us
Anything,
playing.
whether it's your
Anything, okay.
own character experience or like you've watched something happen in terms of role play, or just something happened in terms of how things connected, and you're like, "Whoa, that was so cool!"
If I
Even
got to
in
shoot
character or
Strahd
out of
at the
character,
funeral-
I'm fine with that.
If I had gotten to shoot Strahd at the funeral, I fired 1 shot at him and I missed.
Oh,
I just focused on wolves from that. But if he showed up and was talking all of his shit, and I shot him in the shoulder with a crossbow bolt, it would have been that. Other than that, I think it's finding the drift globe.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't have given you that, but that's fine.
I used it.
Yeah,
I did.
just
I
kinda,
used
like-
it in the basement.
Yeah, I looked in the handbook. I'm like, hey, they could probably use a drift globe. Then I'm like, haha, it's always dark in Barovia. Probably shouldn't have given him a drift globe. But whatever.
No, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
For me, it was a thing. Something that Chris did is that we were fighting the suit of armor on the banister, and you leapt from the top, and Macho Man Randy Savage, the people's elbow, pow, tried to just slam that thing. I don't even care. Did it even not?
Well,
succeed?
yeah. And that's one of those things where
I liked when you pulled the armor down the stairs, like
that
down the
worked out
hole.
well.
That was
Oh,
so
yeah,
good.
The lightning
It was
bolt.
such a good fight. And then Rail fell down the staircase.
Right.
That was a great fight, you guys.
He thought he had slow fall, but he didn't get it yet.
Well, like I pulled him down to the floor, and then he came back up the stairs, and I was like, "Oh, fuck," because I was in melee, and that was like the only time I've been in melee.
when I was trying to think of like a base concept for who Golly John was, I can't remember this guy's name. It's driving me nuts. There's a famous dance that I learned about in one of my theater classes, who was famous for playing like, I don't know, Sinbad the Sailor or some kind of really like macho choreography on stage. And he showed us a video of him doing this crazy thing where like people were doing these weird like push-up jumps, and he'd like run under them. and then he was famous for doing curtain climbs, which is actually really hard. And I'm like, that's Golly John. Like, he's the guy who wants to do all the impressive physical stuff and make himself look like the baddest.
Yeah.
He isn't actually, but he wants to give off that impression. And I wanted to see, because the thing is, when it comes to a lot of checks and stuff, it's very open to interpretation.
Mm-hmm.
And right at the get-go, I wanted to start to get a feel for how, Sarah, you were going to handle just improvising character players wanting to do random stuff in battle.
I think that's the most exciting thing for me is the improvisation between the characters, because I overthink stuff. So I planned down to the T, and then one day I was just like so sick that I didn't plan anything, and I'm like, oh crap, oh, we'll see how this goes. And then everyone just melded that day. I think that was episode 3 or 4, and you guys just like totally melded on the way to the church or something, and it was just so cool to watch all the characters get together, and I was like, hey, hands off, you know, like, this is awesome just watching.
And it's a learning experience, especially for you, because this is like technically your first game that you're running, and you're running it first on stream. I did the exact same thing as you. I ran my very first game one shot on stream. So like I know the anxiety, I know like the pressure of like trying to railroad your players, be like, you have to get to this point or I don't know what I'm doing. Why are you going that way? Stop. But it's like that's the DM world. So
from like
oh sorry.
From like the church on is just good. Yeah, no go.
The last time I DM'd, I had the opposite problem where I was structuring my entire idea for a campaign, reacting to the players' motivations and having them find different things based on what they were looking for. They were in sort of this weird amorphous world that didn't follow normal logic. And then my players, the only time they'd played before, they were like railroaded by the DM, and so don't do.
Oh, that's also
like,
different.
I have no plans for like leading them anywhere. I just thought they'd go.
It's definitely based off circumstances. It's finding a balance between both the DM's skill level and the player's skill level. You can't put expectations on the highest player if the lowest player doesn't know what the fuck's going on.
Exactly.
So
it's tough. DMing is hard.
Yeah, for sure.
And I have a lot of patient players, so thank y'all. You guys are great.
No, they understand, BB.
Whenever you're figuring stuff out, you're awesome. Yeah, whenever you're figuring stuff out, I'm just like, okay, who's standing next to me? Rail. So, let's have a little talk. Just give Sarah time to look through the book. I mean, ever since going to the church, so many things just kind of felt, like they came together. Like I was kind of like, because we like got to the church and then we ended an episode, and so there was that week where I'm sitting there and I was like, oh my god, it's a church to my god. Which wasn't planned. Mm-hmm. I just chose a god because I work for the church, and it ended up being the same god. And it was just ever since then, it was just like more characters started talking with each other. The fight in the basement was
oh my god, that could have
abysmally hilarious.
But that's the thing about Death House, that railroads you so bad, because every little thing I had to look up because every room had something in it. So once that was over, I think that
right, that made sense.
So
because you have to be like, oh well, we're gonna go through it, because we gotta.
You know what's 1A has this, and 1A has this, and 1B has this.
Right,
and it's like I had to read everything.
It was so tough because we could see the whole map, at least for a couple of episodes. So like I don't know if anyone else was like chomping at the bit with leaving this behind, but there's that little room that we didn't go into. We didn't find
first floor. No,
on the first floor. First. No.
I thought it was there was on the second floor. There was the 2 doorways. And we went through the one.
Yeah.
And it's so hard leaving that behind, knowing like, there was thing that maybe had
something.
Another enemy. Could have been a bad thing. I don't know.
Probably had some kind of goo gun that was going to jump out of it.
Going into the bedroom, being like, a poltergeist.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Whoa! That's how
time to go steal some jewelry.
So You know how Roll20 is, Kristy. It just
Oh, I
doesn't
know.
work the way you want it to all the time.
I
so.
feel ya. Same thing with OBS and getting the stream
The-
set up. Technical difficulties is Provo's like mantra. Ayo.
The best part about Death House was getting to the basement all the way to the
One
to
was
the
diving?
boss. Yeah, because that whole floor, because we started that out with Chris, you and I being possessed.
Oh yeah, there's
Oh,
one.
yeah, that
Possessed.
was really fun to watch.
Which was funny because we both had to suddenly have drastic changes in our
I remember
characters.
watching that on Twitch and seeing what you guys were being assigned because I could see what Sarah typed to you. I was like, oh.
But the thing was, like, it was funny because all of the other characters were gone. So the two possessed people had to just sit there and one must cry. Yeah, one just keeps crying and one was super aggressive. And like I thought I was the only one that was cursed because I was the one that was all like, I'm not gonna mess with anything. And I inspected the bodies or whatever. And then it was just funny because I thought that Golly John just became an ass.
That's the thing. What I had to do wasn't too far off from what Golly John maybe would have done. He just did it more aggressively and more like.
I know, but you were like hitting me, and I was like, my thing literally said, if you are scared of everything, if you don't get your way, you cry, and I was like, I just think it's funny because
I love that curse so much.
It was just so funny because Varian this entire time has been like, whatever.
Yeah, it was such a
Then he
like
just starts
180.
sobbing. He just starts sobbing, and everyone's like, stupid dwarf. And I'm like, my dude, that was like a completely different personality. It was hilarious. It was so funny. It was the best part of the Death House.
I do remember. Yeah, that was pretty funny. I was laughing a lot. We're running almost on time. I'm gonna ask a couple more like fun questions. Well, maybe not.
Yay!
Who is most likely to secretly betray the party and join forces with Strahd?
That's hard.
I'd say Stefan.
Because that would be so unlikely.
Right, exactly. No one would suspect. So he's the one who would do it secretly.
Gotcha.
I think most other people, if they join Strahd, they'd just be like, "Yeah, guys, enjoy." It's easier.
It's always the wizard for me. It's always the Strahd will be like, "Ooh, want to
I'll give you all the magical secrets."
Want to
Yeah.
kill a lich or something? Well,
Protect the wizard. Don't trust the wizard. What do
and
we do?
because Illyria's like seeing all this horrible stuff, and she's like having a fun time because she's like, "I'm adventuring," So it's like I feel like she's easily corruptible. I feel like it would be too easy. I feel like it would be too easy to say like Amara because that's racist.
Well, yeah, but her character has already learned how to resist that to do her own thing.
Exactly.
So I feel like if anything, she's the
Least likely, I feel.
I'm always like, it's the damn wizard. It's always the wizard is the one that always is like,
What's the power?
but the power. So
Molfen. We're looking.
Yep, always Molfen.
always. I've played one shot with Molfen, and I understand what everyone says about him.
Okay, try doing like 60 some odd episodes with him. So.
No. Do you understand? If I was like Opal for 60 something episodes with Molfen, one of us would have to be dead.
That's how I feel with
Or
Callisto and
Opal
Molfen.
would
I'm
have
surprised
to-
Callisto and
Opal
Molfen
would
haven't
have
killed
to.
each other yet. They really.
Well, they used to be buds. Like trust each other implicitly.
Well, that's the thing. It's
I know.
always like whoop 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 whoop, like it's a
Yep.
pendulum constantly with the two of them. They're
Right.
fucking crazy.
'Cause it's either like you trust each other as the party leaders, or you're like, Molfen, what the fuck are you doing?
Summoning devils. That's what he's doing.
Yeah, it's either or. Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
he
but-
is 100% most likely in the Storm King Center. He's the most likely.
So
Yeah,
realistic, I say Illyria for the fun, Stefan,
That's true. Ah.
for that question.
Okay, well, similar vein, who would you feel is the party Casanova that will flirt, not just with the party, but just to, like, get their way out of something shady?
I would say
not sure.
Rand would flirt with people, but doesn't know that he's flirting with people.
Yes.
He'd be like,
Rail's just being
that's a
nice.
really nice. Yeah. Hey, that's a really
Oh,
nice
wow,
hat.
that's a great
Oh,
dress.
Yeah, you like the dress?
Accidental flirting, I love it.
As a a warlock, I'm supposed to have really large charisma, but I purposefully wanted Varian to be.
Yeah.
I totally wanted people to see through and be like, "You're not like the cool Han Solo Casanova. You're just an asshole." So he would flirt, and everyone would hate him.
Yeah, pretty much.
Which is exactly what I want.
What a really nice dress you have. Wow.
Backhanded compliments.
Yeah.
Oh, that dress was so in last year.
Yeah, last year. The shade.
I mean, I don't want to stereotypically say the bard because he doesn't really seem like the flirty type at all.
No, Golly's MO is that if he needs to influence someone, he's going to put on the tough guy act.
You're more like an intimidating.
Yeah.
Yeah, so rail.
Real by
I guess
accident.
it's real. They're real by accident. I like that best.
Yeah, I like the flirting by accident. That's pretty
And you
good.
know, he's a cat. He's got soft fur. People.
Yeah, everyone loves cats.
She's
It's
very
sweet.
well, she's very
Very
touchy
soft and
feely.
Yeah.
He's
like,
very
"You wanna
touchy
pet
feely.
me?"
He's like,
You wanna
yeah,
pet
he's
me?
like,
It's okay.
Who do you think?
Hi, person in the background.
It's like,
wife,
Oh,
wife.
everyone say hi, Caleb.
Hi, Kay.
Hi, Caleb.
Hi.
good to see you again.
Who do you think is the most likely to be MVP clutch party member at the 11th hour or at the last minute? Something at the very edge of defeat and success. Who would you feel is the most likely to be MVP at this point?
Winston.
Winston.
Winston!
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Maybe Winston. I mean, I want to say like Amara with a clutch smite because she
Ooh,
really,
good point.
she's used her smite like twice. She's
Yeah.
not
Smite's
like
fun.
smite heavy, but so much stuff is undead.
Mm-hmm.
She's like our number one undead killer. So I feel like she'll like have the nat 20 one day and she'll be like, I'm gonna nat 20 and do just like unload
Dump
my
all
whole
the smite, yeah.
No,
That's
I think
such
it's going to be Varian. I think Varian like is the kind of person who would have like a crisis of decision, and then like come back at the last moment and go, "I'm with you guys."
Aww.
Oh,
I
be
can
the,
see-
like, I'm done with it, and I go, and then I come back, and it's like, no, I will see this through to the end.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that
see
kind
my
of thing.
subconscious.
I'm not finished with you yet.
That's how I would write it if I were writing a story.
Aww. If it was
Aw,
scripted,
dude.
that's how it would go.
Dude, write me Varian fanfic.
What's gonna
Yes!
happen is everyone else going to get KO, then Winston is going to run and get Varian. Varian's going to be like, "What's that, Winston?
There you go.
Falling down the
Rail fell
well.
down in the well?"
Oh, he'll go get. Oh, actually, I like that a lot. Fine, I'll betray you just so I can come back. Okay, guys.
Okay.
Right in
a
your
good
DM notes,
idea.
Sarah.
I'll come up with it.
A
Let's see.
clutch from Sarah rolling a 1 on Strahd's save.
Yeah.
What legendary resistances? What's that?
Yeah.
Sarah, I have a question
Don't
for
forget.
you before we start to wrap things up.
Sure.
How are you feeling from session 0/1 to now, in terms of the game and just how you're feeling in general on how, especially since it's your first one?
I'm feeling much better.
Oh, that's good.
Because I trust. Not that I didn't trust the players, but I trust the players a lot more. I trust myself a lot more. I still give out too much information and ramble on.
No, please. Tell us how valuable the secret thing.
Well, you're not supposed to know that, but that's okay.
Exactly. I do that by accident all the time, and then I have to like go back and be like, yeah, there was no horse in this town. You know, like I gotta make stuff up better because I forget that I'm in charge.
Right.
But besides that, you know, I love everyone and their interactions, and I can just let them go and make their own choices, and know that they'll do not the right thing, but the necessary thing.
The approximate
Yeah, I
right
feel
thing.
that. Yeah.
Right-ish
Aw.
thing.
Not the
So-
right thing, but it was necessary.
Exactly. So it's really cool to see how everyone's balanced out now. So
Oh, I love that. I'm so
It's great.
glad. Glad you guys are having a good time.
yeah.
Do you guys have any questions for each other, or thoughts? Any last thoughts as we wrap it up?
Who's the chick that talked to me in my dream?
Wait, what?
You can't
What?
remember the night in the inn? A woman talked to me in my sleep.
Yeah.
I mean,
Forgot about
probably.
that.
It's probably a
Since
patron.
I was gonna say, since I'm a warlock, it's probably my patron. But I'm like,
I
but
don't know much about it.
But Varian was drunk, so he didn't really like think
How
about it.
convenient.
And she
Yeah, that's-
hasn't like. What if my patron only speaks to me when I'm drunk?
Do you know what? That's canon.
No! No, Sarah, I don't have any wine. I can't get drunk. I want to talk to her.
When I was DMing, I did something like that to a player. A little, not like the guy only talks to them when they're drunk, but they had an early level like player kill experience. It was kind of my fault as a DM because I didn't feel like I balanced it well. So I gave them an out where they had a vision and their god saved them. And what it basically did though is because they worshipped a god of partying, pretty much. That's drinking.
Because
Basically, their continued health and wellness was so tied to their god's interference that they had to drink, or they would get. I didn't tell them that this was going on. They had penalties to all of their perception investigation checks if they weren't slightly buzzed.
Oh God,
So I just let that
that's amazing.
go on for a little while. It was fun.
Let's see. God, other questions? I mean, I want to know if Rail has like. You can't answer it. It's just I'm gonna think out loud. I just want to know if Rail has like any kind of like sad stuff under. Because I feel like so many people.
I won't say.
No, don't say anything. Yeah.
But it's
Think about
possible.
I think about it. I think about what he actually thinks about Barovia a lot. I feel like Golly John is like very, very noticeably like, this is fucked up. This is fucked up. Here we go. But I have to be the tough guy, so I'm gonna pretend it's not fucked up, but it's really fucked up. How many F-bombs am I allowed on your show, Kristy?
Have you met me?
Yeah, okay.
Have you met me?
Good. I'm good. I'm fine.
Yeah, that's the tough part. It's like I have questions, but like I don't want to know.
I know you don't want to spoil each other.
the answers yet. Yeah, I don't want to know the answers until they happen.
Oh,
Okay.
Here's something that you should actually be able to say, Sarah. Are we gonna, because you said that, because we're on like a hex crawl right now, and you're supposed to be rolling for an encounter every half hour.
Yes.
Are you going to? You are? You've been doing that? Okay.
I haven't.
Because my
I just-
question was, are you going to keep the encounter rate where it is, or do you think you're gonna like ramp it up?
I'm gonna try to balance combat with interaction. Let's say it that way.
Hmm.
Because if I roll seriously for 8
Every
times,
yeah.
when you
There would be no interaction.
there would be no it
Yeah.
would just be like total going like every
Yeah.
time you went you'd have 2 interactions with something pretty much like the way you roll it. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm
Especially with nighttime interactions too, you roll even more because it's nighttime. It's like ridiculous.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, I was gonna say like how I do it when I DM for people is like I make like a list of factors of like how are they in a more dangerous part of the world or just a more active part of the world, like are you on main roads, and then like are they traveling in a safe way, and are you traveling all day, and then I kind of go like you have a 1d4 encounter, and I do something like that.
That makes
So if
more
it's like
sense
you're-
than every 30 minutes.
if it's
That's
like you're
crazy.
if you're like in the forest and you're moving not stealthily, like you probably have like you'll encounter more likely to encounter animals or something, and I kind of build it like that. I make a couple tables.
Okay. Well,
I
I
don't know
would
if
take
that's
that into consideration, but I've also just thought that I would just balance it out pretty much.
Yeah, just
I
do
mean,
your own
So
thing.
it's-
You're in control.
So it's not too. It's very encounter heavy. I'm gonna tell you that.
Mhm.
The way the book
I mean,
structures it.
Yeah.
It's Curse of Strahd.
Yeah.
I've got hundreds of encounters for you guys. I'm not gonna lie. There was a table I found, and they're not all combat. So I could give you a couple a day, and they wouldn't have to be combat, but it's just your reaction to them.
Right.
You were like so scared for us fighting that revenant, and we were like, no, don't. You were like, I might have to nerf it, guys, and we were like, don't nerf it. Let's see where it goes.
Duru almost killed 2 of you, so.
Yeah, but we were trying to be.
That was ages ago.
We were being stupid with Duru. We were trying to be non-lethal.
Yeah.
I gave Stefan I was like, you get 1 shot. He was just hugging too much.
Yeah, he was hugging a lot.
And the regeneration is a butt.
Yes.
And soon my fist will be magical.
Soon your fist will be magical as your weapon, so that'll be good.
Yeah, and then we can start our business where you punch ghosts for me.
Yes.
Ghost puncher.
I was gonna make
Who are you gonna call?
last episode. Actually, ghost punchers.
Oh.
I'm gonna ask this would probably be the last question, guys, because I kind of forgot to ask this. What was the application process like for getting this all together?
Grueling.
Yeah, it's. As I recall, we had to tie our hands behind our backs, and we were dipped in freezing cold water for I think about 2 minutes, and only then we were allowed to answer questions.
Sounds like Sarah.
Well,
Sarah.
there was also
very cold.
there was the blood sports section because she got so many people that applied, and she was like, I have to code numbers somehow. We were all
You had to eliminate them quickly.
We were all like thrown into a pit, and we had to fight in hand-to-hand combat.
I think the pit resembled like the Korean classroom.
Oh,
I think I
interesting.
punched Chris. I think I punched Chris in the face, but then we split off to different parts of the arena.
Yeah, it was a lot like Battle Royale, where it's like we didn't start out as friends, but we all realized that we were each very good at killing other people in this horrible death pit. And we decided, guys, we should play Curse of Strahd together.
We're so bad.
You guys are hilarious.
I fucking love it. I'm just like, yeah, tell me more. Tell me more.
Blood sports.
Blood sports, you say?
The question I asked them consistently was whether they like dogs or not. Okay? that was it.
That's the tier bar.
I just thought you were a dog person. I legitimately thought that we were going to throw a dog in our party.
I didn't think so either, but it worked out. So.
I thought maybe it would disappear. I thought we would lose the dog after Death House, but I guess we just have Winston. Winston's I think Winston's going to be really important to keeping people sane.
Mm-hmm.
Usually.
As far as the application process, I kind of did it on a whim. I had no idea that my application would even be looked at. I was just like, this is like a regular stream that already has, fan base. There's no way they're going to let a noob like me, fart around
We
on their
love
channel.
We
our noobs.
do love noobs. We love everyone pretty much.
Yeah.
It's true.
So.
And I thought my lack of experience would be a factor. But I think I just generally have made up for my lack of general experience with, I guess, kind of a ability to absorb information and be able to recall it. Useless trivia information sometimes.
Oh yeah, everyone's fantastic. Players.
I remember my application was kind of weird because when I spoke with Sarah, I was like, hey, because what I was really trying to do was get Para on the show.
Oh.
Remember? I was trying because
apparent.
I saw the ad for it, and I know that Para loves D&D. She's one of my... I DM her, so she was one of my favorite players, and she loves gothic stuff. And I was like, I know she'll make a cool character. And so, I forced Para to write the application, and I applied because I was showing Para how to do it. And then when I got to the interview, I said, have you seen an application for someone named Para? She's one of my players. And you told me, Sarah, you were like, I don't know, there's only 2 slots left. No, and I said, if it came down to choosing between me and Para, I'm already on Waterdeep. Take Para instead of me. And then you surprised me and took both of us.
No.
So that was very sweet.
Yeah,
But like,
I'm talking to Ink, and then he's like, "Hold on, Paris in the bathtub. She wants to talk to you." So
I was like, yeah, that was it. I was like, wait, Para's like in the bath right now. Do you want to like cut my interview short and interview her right now? And you ended up liking her, which is great.
Paris awesome.
Oh, that's
so
adorable.
cool.
But I mean, advice to people, when you go into an interview for a job, normally don't say, "Don't take me," because that's normal. 9 times out of 10, you
Don't hire me. I'm
won't-
garbage.
you
Hire me.
won't be taken for the
Welcome to be like, I represent this other person.
On behalf of my client, take her instead.
Take her instead.
Oh God. I remember being. I knew I wanted to check out Curse of Strahd because I'd played a brief, like, not really one shot, but like 3 to 4 shot that a friend of mine ran that was very like Castlevania inspired. It was really fun. And I wanted to spend more time in kind of a horror universe. And there was something really interesting about like just the fact that it was going to be for a stream, and that there was actually like an official like application sort of vetting process. I'm like, this is kind of cool. I'm gonna try it out. Are we allowed, Sarah, to ask you what the vetting process was like?
Oh, it was super hard, honestly. I had pros and cons after everyone, but I tell you, if I liked you, I offered you it right on the spot. If you remember, I did not get back to anyone who I said I would. I said, like, I pretty much said, to maybe 2 people, like, oh, I'll get back to you. But everyone I liked, I offered them the role right on the spot because I liked them that much. So
I remember being surprised.
Yeah. You guys just impressed me so much. I'm serious. You guys are all great. So
Both times in my interview, I've come with a character already written. I feel like that's very helpful, just because it gives the interviewer an idea
Something
of
tangible.
Yeah, something that you can bring to the table. Because I remember I was like, I mean, I got a character idea, and you were like,
go on.
and then I was like, so he's really weird and breaks the rules like of the game and all this, and you were like, okay. So I don't know, but
Just all
That's
worked
so
out.
good. I'm so happy for you guys that you guys been on stream. I'm sorry that it took us this long to get to this point to finally interview
it's
everybody.
so crazy.
But we will be doing part 2 with the rest of the party next week. So look forward to that. Yeah.
They're so much more charismatic than me.
No,
It's-
babies, you're all pretty. You're nice. But once again, thank you to my guests, Ink, Sarah, Jim, and Chris. Any last final shout-outs or thoughts for you guys?
Watch Curse of Strahd Sunday at some.
Ayo!
Yes, Oscar Strahd. Buy D&D's upcoming water book that is real or a rumor. I'm not sure if they can.
I think it's a real book, but now you have a sea monster in the middle of that lake. Yay!
Yay, live that pirate life!
Just remember, everyone, our next episode is in 1, 2, 3 more days.
Blah blah blah.
Blah, blah, blah. That is
Oh.
our news. Troubles.
Once again, thank you to our sponsors, DiceBar.com, bank-for-based dice company, do D&D merchandise. Go check them out. And if you enter the coupon code PROBO, PROBO, on checkout, you get free expedited shipping to anywhere in the world. So thank you, sponsors. Thank you, DiceBar. And thank you to my guests, and thanks for jumping on, BBs. And we will see, I think, Sarah next week again for the remainder of the party for Curse of Strahd Part 2. Thank you for watching and hanging out with us in chat. We love you very much, and we will see you next week. Okay, love you. Bye.
Thanks, Kristy. Bye.
Oh, thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.